I do think that the team's getting better. I think we had a third quarter that was pretty ugly in a lot of ways from a turnover standpoint, a shot-making standpoint. I thought that Giannis and Damian Lillard sort of took the game over in that quarter and imposed their will on us. But that doesn't take away from a lot of good basketball that was played in this game. I think the game against Chicago and more than half of tonight's game shows me that the team is improving. The turnovers and the times that we string a lot of them together is something that we have to continue to address. Being able to recenter ourselves in a game is a skill that we have to learn. We can't expect to play 48 clean minutes every night. We've got to be able to continue to come into timeouts, understand what's happening in the game, and recenter ourselves. But I think for the most part, Milwaukee's physicality impacted the game tonight on both ends of the floor. That's something that we're going to face all season, and we'll continue to address that. But I think that the team is improving, and I do think that I want our guys to try to focus on the large chunks of good basketball that have been played lately as we try to learn from the ugly moments.
I know that you have a lot of guys coming back tonight, but what goes into the decision on basically why Kyle and Isaiah weren't in the regular rotation?
Isaiah's practiced with us one time. Kyle's going to play a lot. There's only so many minutes to be played in a game. There's a lot of factors that go into the decisions of who plays and who doesn't. If there's a specific thing you want to ask about, fire away. But
I guess Kyle went from being in the starting rotation to then not playing, and so I was wondering maybe why Drew was playing over him, or if that was the matchup or the depth rotation that you were looking at.
Yeah, we're trying to put a bunch of different combinations together with the bigs to figure out what works best for all of them. Kyle's handled himself great. There's a lot of games to be played. Kyle's going to play a lot, and he knows that. Obviously Lowry coming back into the mix is a massive factor for Kyle based on his position. And so we're trying to figure out how best to bring Lowry back into the fold and what types of positions we want to put Kyle in. Nothing's ever set in stone as far as our lineups and rotations go. We also look at who we're playing and what we think impacts that game. I'm not worried about Kyle not playing moving forward.
How do you balance, then the idea of playing guys, getting guys reps, youth development versus who you think, makes the lineups work and giving yourself the best chance to win every game?
What do you mean?
So, you talked about Drew maybe being a better fit for those lineups, Kyle, but that being said, Kyle's also a young player that maybe could use playing time to get better. How do you balance those two factors?
I have the long view in mind for all of these guys. The reality is that we can't play every young guy every night. That's not how this is going to work. This is the NBA, and there is a level of earning your minutes that has to happen. I don't think that anybody's done anything wrong, but I do think that we're looking at a body of work every day, and we do want the games to have a certain level of flow to him. Like I said to Sarah, that doesn't mean that Kyle won't play 20 minutes in the next game. But I think this notion of like just getting minutes helps you get better is not true. Like just playing for playing's sake doesn't just make you better. That's why we have practices. That's why we have the G League. There's so many ways that we're going to use all of our resources to help all these guys get better. Like I understand the sentiment of why did Kyle not play tonight, but we also have to maintain that this is a team, and that we have 15 guys, 18 with all the two-ways, that are in the locker room every night, and they see what happens at practice, and they see what happens in the games, and we have to maintain a standard of, like, doing your job well means that you get to play some. I'm not concerned about Kyle not being in the rotation tonight, and I think that if we're going to have, we, not meaning you guys, if anybody is going to have an emotional reaction to who plays every single night, it's going to be a really hard year. We have a lot of young players, and that means we have to think about the big picture of the team, the future, and each of these guys individually. And I think just blankly saying, like, all 7 of the young guys are going to just play every night's not going to work. So as a staff and as an organization, like, we talk every day about what we want to do going into each game, going into a pocket of games. It's obviously been a little disjointed here early in the year based on a bunch of injuries and some circumstances changing. And it's something that we'll continue to talk about every day. But I can promise you that my number one focus every day and my number one focus for the remainder of the season is going to be developing all these young players. But like I said earlier, that doesn't just mean like everybody just gets to play every night.
Well, looking at the second half of the game specifically, kind of the differences in what the offense was doing compared to the first half, I mean, what did you see in terms of maybe our rotation, ball touches, and kind of just the flow of the offense?
Yeah, I think Milwaukee did a really good job of trying to shut off the paint. They overhelp a lot, and I felt like our reads, especially on the passes to the interior or playing versus closeouts, like we were just a dribble late or half a second late on our closeout reads. And so the advantage can go away quickly. You create an advantage, and if you don't grab it and hold it and keep it, it can go away. And I just felt like there were too many times where somebody would slip out on a roll versus switch and they're open, and we don't give it to them, and then a dribble later, the advantage is gone. And that's a credit to Milwaukee. Their physicality, like I said, really took away from our ability to hold that advantage. So it's something that we'll look at on film. It's a lot of those plays are kind of trust plays where you have to throw the ball into space. It doesn't look wide open. You have to trust that your teammate's going to hold their position. And so I thought the ball just got a little bit sticky in the third quarter. The quality of look that we generated wasn't quite as good. And so our offense suffered, and then they were playing in transition a lot in that third quarter, and it was hard to get control of the game.
Defending Dame and Giannis is famously difficult, but how did you feel like you guys did in that part of the game tonight?
Yeah, I think, man, like I thought there were some good moments. I thought that Giannis, he had some times where his physicality just sort of overwhelmed us. I thought in the first half, we had some moments where we showed a crowd well, but we also had too many times we didn't get the ball sent to the help. And he went baseline on Lowry in the first half and got fouled. in the third quarter, they beat us baseline like 3 or 4 times in ISOs. And so I thought that him getting to the free throw line hurt us. Our offense and letting him play in transition hurt us. I thought in the half court, we actually guarded Giannis pretty well. And Dame was sort of the same thing. We were guarding him pretty well. We fouled him 3 times on threes in the first half. One of them he made. And so he got to shoot some free throws, which kind of kept his rhythm. And then he got going. Like he didn't hurt us from 3 terribly tonight. He had a couple step backs over Lowry. But again, I just felt like there were possessions where we didn't do a good job keeping the ball off the rim. And those layups kind of helped Dame keep his rhythm. So overall, I felt like the Giannis part in the half court I was really proud of from the guys. Dame's a tough one because the pickup points become tricky. If you pick him up way too high, he's playing in space. And so I think overall it was okay, but they put you in a lot of tough spots because if you start over helping, you're giving up naked catch and shoots to everybody else. And that's why those guys are 2 really special players.
Thank you.